So this is just a quick video to give my sort of my final thoughts on Dark Souls 3. I finished the game some time ago, and it took me a good long while to beat the Soul of Cinder, the final boss. But when I did, damn did it feel good. I got the ending where you successfully ring the flame, and by God, it's the most anticlimactic thing I've ever seen, which also suits the game just fine. You see, From Software's greatest strength is characterizing the world around you. In fact, the game's story is more world-driven than character-driven, I'd say. And after a good few days of thinking on the game, I have some final things that I want to say, and maybe controversial things. DJ Peach Cobworm has this amazing video where he characterizes the bosses in Dark Souls 3 exclusively through their scenes in which they're introduced. I highly recommend you watch it, and if I remember, I'm gonna put the video in the description below. And honestly, he's right. Most, if not all of these bosses are fucking pathetic. A giant king surrounded by his dead subjects, and a sword specially built to kill giants right next to him. A mute cripple, an empty set of armor, a legion of soldiers killing each other. None of these guys are badasses or even cool by their description alone. And honestly, I love that. It's insanely unique. I'm used to fighting the traditional bosses who are cool and epic. Waltz from Dying Light 2 is an easy example of this, and I fucking hate him. He spends 90% of his screen time beating the shit out of you and basically shoving children in front of buses, and then suddenly he's a good guy and he fights you by running away. I wish I was kidding. Seriously, if you go see only his scenes, he's a bland, violent antagonist, and towards the end, there's a biggest plot twist, delivered in the most asinine way imaginable. His characterization makes no sense, and his fight is the most annoying one in the game because it doesn't even utilize the game's systems to their full potential. He stands on a circle where you can't use any of your awesome parkour moves, so go and hack and slash him to win. 4 times. Dark Souls 3's bosses are great, not only due to their superb and unique characterization, but also because these fights were built around the game's animation-heavy system. Not once fighting the Abyss Watchers, for example, did I think, man, this is bullshit, who designed this boss fight? Playing these fights, it sort of feels like it's Abomination going up against the Hulk. And yeah, for those of you who don't know who Abomination is and therefore have sex, he's effectively the bad guy version of Hulk. So yeah, you're gonna get your ass handed to you, but eventually you're going to win. When you die in Dark Souls to one of these myriad of bosses, it feels that you died because you messed up, or you were not prepared. I think I've mentioned that in the last video that I made on Dark Souls, is that the bosses are far more about learning the choreography than just banging your head against a wall and hoping it breaks. And that is incredible. I'm so used to fighting against bosses who are hyped up to be the toughest bastards, but they die immediately, or again, bosses with a design built around the standard melee-only game, not a game with bows and crossbows and advanced movement. God damn it. Like, there's so much I hate about Dying Light 2 ending. Honestly, both Dying Light 8s, they kinda fall apart in that regard. We have a pretty good combat and parkour system. How should we use it to fight the final boss? What do you mean use it? Just use QTEs, those are really big nowadays. Really brilliant stuff, Techland, really great stuff, including the sequel. So our combat system is refined and improved from the last game, and our human fights are actually fun now. Should we have the fight with Waltz take complete advantage of it, sir? What? No. I want Waltz to punch straight through blocks and actively run away from melee distance in the second stage. Christ, I'm clearly not over the game. Boss fights in Dark Souls 3 are the reason that I kept playing. They're grand spectacle, they're fun and challenging fights, and the environmental storytelling in the rooms alone is, I believe, the best part of Dark Souls. And honestly, that whole aspect should be the gold standard for the industry. It's that good. And the infamous difficulty of the game suits these bosses like a glove, as the damage dealt in given feels appropriate to the individual you're facing. However, the difficulty of the game does not work nearly as well for the mob enemies and areas outside of boss fights. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these mob enemies are pretty fun. The cackling fat wizard lady is an example, but by and large, a lot of these enemies get old pretty quick. Like the zombies, my god. The zombies aren't really fun. They move slow, they attack slow, and once you get the hang of them, you can dispatch them easily enough without them even managing to try and attack you. It's in fact in several areas where the game's difficulty is jacked up to 11, and I hate it. The swamp, or that mountainside bullshit area, I've already talked about the swamp at length in my last Dark Souls video, so I'll leave it at this. You can either fight weird bug things that can't hope to attack you if you're smart, or if you make one mistake, well, you better say goodbye to those Estus flasks, buddy, cause your health is about to get drained for several minutes non-stop. Or, alternatively, you fight rotting corpses with pointy sticks who deal more damage than some of the bosses do. I genuinely don't like this area. It's bad. The mountainside area is just the worst too. You get tons of strong enemies that keep respawning and are thrown at you, and who will beat your ass sideways no matter what you do. It's honestly the only area where I didn't kill the final boss. It's the guy riding a dragon. I was honestly sick of it by the end. So in short, the game's difficulty, I feel, both helps and hinders the game. The difficulty is what makes the boss fights so great and enjoyable. And honestly, if Dark Souls 3 had some sort of repeatable boss gauntlet, I'd have way more hours on the game than I do right now. I really can't say this enough, the boss fights are worth the price of admission alone. But are they worth the boring and annoying mob enemies? Yes. Despite it all, yes. I might get other From Software games, if they have a better PC port and more fun enemies. So, anywho, second Reconquista video is filmed. It's coming out in a few days, so yeah, bye. Oh, and if there is any From Software game on PC that has a repeatable boss gauntlet at the end, do let me know.